And we are following breaking news here on CBS Sports HQ. Well, it was just a matter of time before the deal got done, but now, according to a report, James Harden does plan to sign a 2-year deal with the 76ers. Our Bill Ryder saying we should expect it anywhere between 2 to 4 years, going with 2 years here. But he will take a reported pay cut worth $15 million in order to stay with the 76ers. That does include a second-year player option. We'll see if James Harden decides on that. He did have a player option, which he did decline. But again, the thoughts being that he would end up signing a contract, a multi-year contract with the Philadelphia 76ers. Let's welcome in our Tim Doyle to talk about this breaking news here on CBS Sports HQ. Not so surprising, Tim, that James Harden agreeing to a 2-year deal, according to reports with the 76ers. Are you surprised at the pay cut?
Yeah, I think when we hear $15 million, we say it like $15 million, okay? But he has made over $220 million. All right, so just simple math here. We're talking about what? 6-7% of his overall, salary earnings from a contract that he's taking a pay cut. This would be like, Amanda, if you had $4,000 in your checking account, which I seriously doubt. This would be like $300 that you're like, whatever, $300. That's what he's doing at $15 million. That's amazing. I think he's one of the more interesting players in the NBA because he has a rap of being kind of a me-first guy. And then you go look at his stats. He's had years in the NBA where he's averaged over 11 assists. Oh, in 2 years, after averaging over 11 assists, he averaged 36 points. So he wants to win an NBA championship. He looks at Joel Embiid at this phase and age of his career as his best chance to win it. So he goes, sure, $15 million, not that big a deal. Philly, let's go win a title.
Oh, I love that. I love your optimism. Look, he has had some career lows, which you were seeing here this past season. I mean, so what is your faith, though? I mean, we saw occasional great games from James Harden. By no means was it the James Harden we saw with the Rockets. What is your faith in James Harden moving forward this season?
I think that they'll be the best team in the Eastern Conference in the regular season. I think they'll be the overall number 1 seed. Yes, put it on paper. I didn't say that they were going to win an NBA championship, but now that you give Harden and Joel Embiid an offseason to learn how to dance together, oh yeah, because Amanda, you know how I like to dance, face to face. My wife, she backs it up on me. Now the fact that they're going to get this chance to get that synergy and get that rhythm together. When the Sixers were at full strength, meaning Harden, Embiid, and a couple of other guys, Tobias Harris's of the world, they had the number 1 offensive rated team in the entire NBA. And you just threw Harden on the team late in the season. He's such an amazing playmaker. He makes other guys better. And now you're pairing him with, arguably Embiid could have won the MVP the last 2 years. He lost to Jokic, but, he's finishing in the top 3 in this juncture in his career. I think this is the best team in the Eastern Conference. And now Harden has freed up this money to find pieces that fit his game, put him around shooting, add him in with a Tyrese Maxey who we knew was fast, we knew he could defend, but we didn't know he could shoot it like that so well off the ball. I think the Sixers are the best team in the Eastern Conference. Okay, expand on that a little bit. You're throwing in PJ Tucker, which they have as well. The Celtics right now are the favorite to win the title. We don't know where Kevin Durant's going to land. Maybe he ends up in Miami. Maybe that would change things for you. So why are the 76ers with James Harden ending up staying there for the next couple of years? Expand on that a little bit more, why you think they're the best team in the East. Hey, don't do this to me, Amanda. Why do you, this is like, you're like this.
This be my job. This be my job.
Why are you pushing me towards the edge here? What do you want me to say? I'm not going to say right now that Philadelphia 76ers is going to win the NBA championship. I know that's I know what you're trying to bait me to do. I'm not taking the bait.
Okay, that's fine. That's okay. We can agree on that there. What form? Do we think James Harden is going to show up in better form coming into this season than he did last season?
Great question, because last night I was at Nick and Sam's. I had 2 martinis, not 3 down in Dallas, because 3 I get sloppy. And I have a hard time recovering from that because I'm 39 years old and have a dad bod. He's at the point in his career where I believe he's going to have to reinvent himself. Now, I don't mean you have to go total vegan and stuff, but here's the time he has to start changing his body, because he's at an age when athletes start going on the other side of the mountain if they don't do something to reinvigorate himself. Get on the TB12 plan. Like, now is the time to start changing your lifestyle a little bit, because you just can't answer the bell like you used to. So I'm really curious to see how he comes into this offseason. I love the fact that this is done now, right? We're not even in the middle of July, and he's like, no, this is it. And now player option for year number 2, he may realize, like, maybe this isn't it, and I'm going to move on from Philadelphia. But he is pushing his chips, James Harden, all in for next year. And in the world that we live in, if you're getting that sort of commitment for 1 year, I respect that, but I think he needs to change his body. I think he needs to come in at this point of the basketball season in the best shape of his life, going into next year. Like, I think that he has to go in with the mind frame and the mindset that he could be an MVP candidate, because he was last year, not this past season, 2 years ago. Like, he was in the mix when he was on the Nets to win an MVP. So I think he's got another good year. And as I said, Sixers with Harden and Embiid, the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference next year.
I appreciate your faith. Look, you went to Nick and Sam's last night. Now you're getting back on the train for the rest of the summer. We saw James Harden partnered up in the Hamptons. Now hopefully he will be back in the gym getting ready for this upcoming season. Good dance moves, as always, Tim Doyle. We appreciate it there. Taking a look at the odds to win the NBA championship in 2023. As mentioned, the Celtics are there at the top, followed by the Warriors, the Suns, the Bucks, the Clippers. You get the 76ers with 14-1 odds, but you heard Tim Doyle there saying...
All right, this is what Kevin Durant's tenure to date has been with the Brooklyn Nets. How about 90 total games played in the regular season? That includes the first season where there was 0 because he was recovering from the Achilles. So if you just count the last 2 seasons, he's just averaged 45 games a season played during the regular campaign at just about 29 points a game, better than 7 rebounds and 6 assists, 53, 41, and 90-year splits with regard to the shooting. He's a great player. Just needs to be on the floor more, and will he be on the floor ever again in a Brooklyn Nets uniform? All right, let's welcome in CBS NBA analyst Bill Ryder. And Bill, as we reach week 2 since the Kevin Durant trade request, I'm still trying to figure out why he wants out. I'd like to think he wants to get out of the business of Kyrie Irving and focus on his career and winning a title again. The Nets are said to want a king's ransom for KD, and you can understand why. This will define Sean Marks' tenure as Brooklyn GM. If you're in that front office, how would you proceed moving forward regarding conversations with other interested teams?
Yeah, Jim, if I'm Sean Marks, if I'm the general manager of this Nets organization, in which I gave away all of my depth, all of my young players to bring in Kevin Durant and to pair him with Kyrie Irving and then to bring in James Harden, I'm absolutely putting my foot down. I understand. We all know where Kevin Durant wants to go. He's leaked that. He wants to be a Sun. He wants to be a member of the Miami Heat, the 2 teams that won the East and the Western Conference last year. That's cool. I want to be 6'5" and able to dunk. Life doesn't always give you what you want. To answer your question, I'm requiring a massive return. I'm telling Kevin Durant, and this isn't probably realistically the outcome, Jim, because players have the power in the NBA, and no GM has put their foot down since the player empowerment movement made it possible to not just demand your way out of a contract you're under, but to tell guys where you want to go. But I'm going to buck that trend. I'm going to say to KD, you want to use and throw your weight around, do it to go get a massive haul and return somewhere you want to be, because short of that, what is a remarkable return that gives us value on you having 4 years left on your deal? You're not moving. You can be here. You can be miserable. You're not Ben Simmons. You're not going to sit out. You love the game too much. You care about your legacy. I'll dare you to go on strike.
Yeah, that makes total sense, Bill. So Durant, as you mentioned, has informed the Nets the Suns and Heat are his preferred destinations. If the Nets don't want restricted free agent DeAndre Ayton, you'd have to think they would need another team or two to jump in to appease Brooklyn's big demands. As you compose hypothetical deals regarding one with the Suns, how might that look?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the DeAndre Ayton piece is the obvious one that you might think would bring value, but you have to want to have a standard center. So let's go to the Pacers. That's a team that's in a rebuild mode. There's a sense out there talking to folks. They might view DeAndre Ayton as a max or near max guy. So I think it's a trade where the Pacers move on from Miles Turner. It'll be multiple first-round picks that certainly go to the Nets. Kevin Durant goes to the Suns, and then DeAndre Ayton ends up in Indiana. Maybe Bridges is a part of that deal too. And again, there's other first-round picks that are probably part of the deal. But in order to make this happen, you got to have a team that A, values DeAndre Ayton at a high level, and B, has the cap space to do that, because you're hard capped if you bring in a guy in a sign and trade, which Ayton would require. So you're talking a team like the Spurs, a team like the Pacers, maybe Orlando, and it just feels like the Pacers are a team that have a vision for a future that doesn't include some of the pieces they have, so they can send some guys out as part of a deal, and they got the cap space to make it work. If, it's a big if, they value Ayton as a near max guy.
Yeah, and those first round picks have to be plenty.